Good morning. Good Friday morning. Here we go. We had football last night. We had news break yesterday afternoon after seemingly every episode, every sports podcast had ended, and then the big news broke yesterday. So you know what? Let's just open the show with it. Let's open the show. The Dallas Cowboys have been a sitcom for a while now. What this trade for Micah Parsons, with the Micah Parsons issues, I think what this trade shows is a little bit of awareness by Jerry and Stephen Jones. I know, I can't believe I'm giving them credit for anything. But you heard me. Now, remember, my prediction was already they were going to be last before the trade even happened in the division. They looked at the team, and I'm going to give them a little bit of credit here. It may not even be close to accurate, but I'm going to give them a little bit of credit here. They looked at the team and realized Micah Parsons wasn't going to help us win anything. He was the only player on the defensive line, especially after Lawrence moved on to Seattle. He was the only player on the defensive line that really could change a game. I went back. I went back. And I looked at the number of sacks. So he has 52 sacks in his 4 years. Okay? Or something like that. 52 or 55. But I counted up the amount of sacks against the Panthers, Giants, and Washington since he's come into the league. That total against just those 3 teams was 16 of the 52. He has 36 sacks against everybody else, but he has 16 sacks against those 3 teams. I don't believe Micah Parsons deserves the contract at all. He is not the best defensive player in the NFL. The Packers absolutely overpaid, but here's the other side. They felt they were one player away from being able to take that next step. We all have the questions about Jordan Love. We all have the questions about, is he really a playoff quarterback? He has really shrunk in big moments. All valid questions. I have a bigger one. Why does Green Bay think that Micah Parsons is going to do any good for them in cold weather? Speed is not how the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Speed is not how the Chiefs won their Super Bowls or the Patriots. In the playoffs, you got to be big and strong. You have to move the other player out of the way. The NFC North, Penei Sewell, the Vikings' outstanding left tackle. I've been forgetting his name all night because I've been talking about him all night. The Vikings left tackle, who they are extremely high on, had the season-ending injury last year. The Bears he may be able to take advantage of. But if you're giving me Penei Sewell versus Micah Parsons, I will take Penei Sewell 10 out of 10. Micah Parsons is small. He is not that strong. And you can run at him and run him over. I think this actually hurts the Packers defense more than helps. And I know I'm going to be in the minority here, but I felt Kenny Clark as the defensive tackle was a stalwart in the middle. I felt he was a very needed presence in the middle of that defensive line. When you look at the rest of the team now, the defensive tackles without Kenny Clark, it's a little soft. Micah Parsons can't do anything if they're running straight up the gut on the team. Micah Parsons is just going to get pushed to the side. Now, my predictions for the division, remember I said the Lions and Packers were going to have the same record. I gave the Lions the edge off of a tiebreaker, whatever tiebreaker it was when I did the schedule. I do believe Parsons equates to an extra game. So I do believe the Packers can win the division. But week 1, I still believe they lose to the Lions. He hasn't practiced. He hasn't done anything all offseason. He's going to be really rusty. He's got a week to get ready. And that's not really a lot of time. He relies on speed and conditioning. He could get hurt week 1 if he's not on a pitch count, if he's not on a snap count for that game. Because it could really go bad really quickly. I like the move for the Cowboys. You get 2 first-round picks. You get a veteran on the defensive line. I like the move for the Cowboys. You hit on both of those picks as defensive or offensive, if they go offensive linemen, because those picks will probably be in the late 20s, between probably 23 and 28. You hit on offensive linemen both years, you got to rebuild the offensive line. It works. They need to completely rebuild the offensive line. You have your first picks with your own team to then go get another DeMarcus Ware or Micah Parsons or DeMarcus Lawrence. We've had some great defensive players come out recently. There will be plenty more. This trade to me kind of feels like a wash. I know the Packer fans are ecstatic. It's football in Lambeau. Speed has never won. Reggie White was one of the most powerful defensive ends I have ever seen. That's why he worked in Philadelphia and Green Bay. Micah Parsons is one of the fastest players. He hasn't been able to beat great left tackles yet because they're bigger and stronger, and Parsons is not that strong. He can do all the weights, he can do everything else, but when it comes to the field, his legs aren't strong enough. His feet aren't strong enough. I think the trade is a wash. I don't think there's a winner and loser. If Green Bay ends up getting a Super Bowl, they will have gotten what they want. If the Cowboys end up getting and nailing all 4 picks in the first round the next 2 years, resetting their cap, not paying another player, overpaying another player, and absolutely screwing their cap up for another 4 years, I believe they get what they want. So I fully believe both teams get what they want. The trade was perfect for both teams. Can the Packers win the Super Bowl with Micah Parsons? Yes. Could the Packers also not win the Super Bowl and get eliminated in the wild card round with Micah Parsons? Yes. Are the Cowboys going to suck this year? I already said they would, so I am doubling down. In fact, the odds for the under 5.5 wins dropped dramatically after the Micah Parsons trade. The odds for the Packers to win the Super Bowl went from 17-1 to 12-1. It is what it is. It is what it is. But that all happened, and I was having fun last night, not going to lie. I do slightly feel bad for Michael Irvin doing his entire interview day and then having it absolutely blow up after he got done with his last interview for the day. I do kind of feel bad about that. All right. Last night we had college football. Last night we had a doubleheader on ESPN, and those are the 2 games we're going to look at first, and then I will give you my college football playoff top 20 teams to watch this year. And then I will today give you my Super Bowl winner and my college football championship winner. All right. So we're going to start with the 9 o'clock game because this game was really, really fun to watch. Nebraska against Cincinnati. What a game. What a game. Big 10 versus Big 12. 2 teams that I believe match up amazingly well with each other. Amazingly well. The first half, Nebraska had most of the control, but you could tell in the second half, Cincinnati's adjustments were spot on. Nebraska could not move the ball offensively very well. They struggled. And then for the Bearcats on offense, they started getting the run going a little bit better, short, quick passes, which really helped. It was an outstanding football game. The Huskers win it 20-17. The final drive for the Bearcats, this was great. And I want to pull this up because I want to get this right because I'm going off of memory after watching, and then I still watched 2 more games after that. So when you have the last drive for Nebraska, and this is big. They have the last drive for Nebraska when the Bearcats had made it 20-17. They had gone 9 plays, 75 yards. They got the score to 2017. Nebraska now is going down, trying to ice the game away. What happens then is the Cincinnati defense comes up. They're at Nebraska's at the Cincinnati 44-yard line. Okay? They're in Cincinnati territory. They get 10 to 15 more yards. They may kick the field goal to give them a touchdown lead with very little time left. On first down, they get a 2-yard pass. On second down, they get a sack. Cincinnati sacks Dylan Raiola for a 7-yard loss. 7-yard loss, moving them back across midfield to the Nebraska 49, giving Nebraska a 3rd and 19, of which they just complete a 5-yard dump-off pass, and then they kick it, they punt the ball out of bounds at the Cincinnati 9-yard line. So here's how everything plays out then. The next minute and 36 seconds, Cincinnati is going to run 10 plays, 10 for 58 yards. They were dinking, diming, getting out of bounds, incompletions, runs. They were going from their own side of the field, the 9-yard line, trying to go all the way over to get a field goal. They executed it beautifully. They take a timeout. They get they got a holding penalty on Nebraska. The receiver was clearly held. It wasn't questionable. I go, oh, that's holding, and then I saw the yellow flags flying. It was holding. They get a 1st and 10 at the Nebraska 33 with 34 seconds or 41 seconds left in the game. They're sitting on the 33, and they have a choice. I would not have made this choice. They decide to go for the deep ball for the end zone. Now, yes, you always go for the win. I thought it was a little too early with how they had been playing. You had 41 seconds left. In college, you get the first down, the clock stops so they can reset everything. I thought it was 1 or 2 plays too early. You have 41 seconds. You don't want to give Nebraska the ability to try to go the other direction that easily. They throw the ball. It's a corner fade. The problem is it didn't get to the corner. Brendan throws it up. The ball goes up, but it comes down directly between the corner and the safety, receivers in the middle, and both of them converge. Safety makes a beautiful play on the ball, silky smooth play on the ball. And pass is intercepted in the end zone. It made it to the end zone, but it needed to be up that way. It needed to be outside. Go to the corner. He didn't get it to the corner. If he throws it to the corner, the receiver has a really good shot at making this. The receiver has a really good shot of being able, he may have been out at the 3, 2, somewhere around there, but he would have been able to catch it easily, get out of bounds, and they would have had plenty of time to be able to get in the end zone. It's late interception, seals the victory for the Huskers. Outstanding game once again. These games that have come down to only field goal differences have been outstanding. College football is fantastic. I love it. The Bearcats and the Cornhuskers, to me, are two teams that are very evenly matched. If they played 10 times, I think they'd go 5-5. It was outstanding. It was outstanding. The game prior to that, though, I don't know where this Bulls team came from. I do not know where this Bulls team came from. but gosh darn. Woo! The South Florida Bulls absolutely annihilate the Broncos. I mean, gave them the horns, flipped them, shredded them. 34-7. I mean, it was ugly. The quarterback for Boise State, Maddox Madsen, was 25 of 46. Yes, you heard me right. 25 of 46. 225 yards, 1 touchdown. They had a grand total of 122 rushing yards by 4 players. The Bulls, this is really odd because of how everything played out. The Bulls had 255 passing yards. They had 117 rushing yards. But they recovered 3, not 1, not 2, 3 fumbles. They were aggressive. They played hard. And the South Florida Bulls looked like a team that Navy may have to be careful with. Navy may need to be careful. Because that team looked really, really good defensively. They had 6 pass deflections. They had 2 field goals, a long of 52. Nico, you may remember this name, Gramatica. Yes, Nico Gramatica is the kicker for South Florida. Absolutely love it. Their punter, Chase Leon, had a long punt of 50 yards. It was really one-sided. The fumbles created the opportunities for short field, and South Florida continually, 3 times in a row, made them pay. Boise State, I didn't think was going to drop off this much. It's game number 1, so I don't really want to overreact. But that showing is scary. Losing close, like Nebraska-Cincinnati, 3 points. Even, East Carolina played NC State, it was 24-17. Something like that, you're not really worried about. You got roasted, 34-7. Bronco fans have to be a little bit concerned. Just a little bit. The Mountain West Conference is absolutely going to be after Boise State. And if Boise State isn't careful, they may not win the Mountain West. I still think they will. I think they'll rebound. It's week number 1. But there's some very big signs. 25 of 46. That's the biggest one. You had 25 completions and 21 incompletions. That by itself is alarming. 3 fumbles. Actually, technically it was 4. One of them didn't get recovered by South Florida. I mean, some of those things are a little bit worrisome if you're a Boise State fan. However, if you're a South Florida fan, you woke up this morning feeling like, all right, this counts as a top 25 win. Boise State was ranked 25. It's a top 25 win for the South Florida Bulls. Hey, we're looking good. We can run the table in the American. We have a top 25 win. We could be that team that gets the automatic bid from the group of 5. That's what South Florida can think this morning. Why not? They just roasted Boise State. And this is why I love football. This is why I love college football so much. It's unpredictable at its core. Random teams can pop up every year. You guys remember Florida State last year? Everybody had them ranked like, yeah, they're going to be a player in the ACC, and they were a dud. You don't normally have that type of drop off. Big J and I were talking last night. We went back and, we were talking about upsets, and everybody, and he brought this up, everybody always goes back to the Appalachian State versus Michigan. That happened in 2007. There have been other upsets since then, but everybody remembers that one oh so well. I mean, I do. I remember, I watched it. Everybody remembers that oh so well. That year, that game, Michigan was ranked number 5. They ended the season 8-4. And then they go and they win their bowl game, and that was Lloyd Carr's last year. They ended up winning it. It was wild. College football's wild. Before we get to the 10,000-foot view of sports, I want to go over this because I was watching everything, some of the production behind. Tomorrow is Lee Corso's last time on College Game Day. I remember, and this is a straight up personal story. I remember many of the moments that you'll see in YouTube Reels. I've been watching College Game Day for now 27 years. I remember a lot of it from the last 25. I remember the slips. I remember the headgear flops. I remember the wild things that Lee Corso did. I do not know about anything as him as a coach. I do not know anything about him as a coach. I know the stats. I know the records. I know the legacy that he has in college football. Tomorrow, college football will be losing another legend. Lee Corso has been the life of College Game Day for a long time. And I fully can admit over the last few years, especially since his stroke, it has not been the same. That first year back, it was definitely really rough. He was having trouble formulating the thoughts, but he kept going. He kept going because he loved football and he loved the people he worked with. I am really thrilled that they're doing it at the beginning of the year. It may sound odd. I like that his last game's at the beginning of the year so that he can enjoy the rest of this season with his family. He can enjoy. We're getting into the holiday season. I know a lot of people don't want to hear about it. Guys, September is on Monday. We're in football season, which equals holiday season. Because the next thing we got is Thanksgiving football that we're all waiting for. I'm happy it's this game. I'm happy it's in Ohio State. But I am very sad that Lee Corso is going to be stepping down. I fully get it. I fully understand it. And I do believe for him, it's the right thing to do. The schedule is very rigorous. McAfee's talked about it. Herb Street's talked about it. But I will miss Lee Corso a lot because I remember the last 25 years very vividly watching that man teach me football. He came through the screen. He grabbed you by your shirt collar, shook you, and told you how much you should love college football. He was that captivating. And I absolutely love him. He wanted to have fun. He just wanted to have fun and bring everybody along for the ride. So I cannot wait. When I get home from work in the morning, game day is going on. And I will be watching it tomorrow just because I don't want to miss any part that will be attributed to Lee Corso tomorrow. All right. there were things happening in other sports besides college football last night. So let's get into our 10,000 foot view of sports. Here we go. Last night in Major League Baseball, we had something that I haven't seen. This was awesome. Kyle Schwarber. I hate that the Cubs let him go. I hate it with a dying passion. Kyle Schwarber hits 4 home runs last night. 4. Now, I have him in fantasy baseball, so I am outrageously thrilled. He may have won me the week just by last night's performance. The Phillies knocked off the Braves 19-4 after just getting swept by the Mets. Schwarber had 4 home runs, 9 RBIs. You had Bohm with 2 RBIs, Kepler with 2 RBIs, Real Muto with 2 RBIs, Sosa had an RBI, Harper had an RBI, Turner had an RBI. Harrison Bader went 4 for 5 with 3 scored runs. Kyle Schwarber, though, good grief. Cal Quantrill, the pitcher for the Braves, pitched 3 1/3 innings, 9 hits, 9 earned runs. Then Cox came in with 3 innings pitched, allowed 6 hits, 7 earned runs with 2 walks. It was a wild night in Philadelphia. That was a get-right game after getting swept by the Mets, which, by the way, played the Marlins and lost. So, exactly what Philly wanted to happen happened. They ended up absolutely obliterating the Braves. And then Miami goes into New York, which the Phillies couldn't do, and get a win over the Mets. So it's baseball. It's awesome. Absolutely awesome. And then we had another thing happen. Middle of the day. The San Francisco Giants swept the Chicago Cubs 4-3. 4-3. I don't know. I really don't know. Imanaga had 7 innings pitched, 5 hits allowed, only 1 walk, 5 Ks, 3 earned runs. Logan Webb for the Giants pitched 7 innings as well, 7 hits, 3 earned runs, and 7 Ks. It was a great baseball game. Jung-Ho Lee walks it off in the 9th inning, giving the Giants the victory. The Giants are now only 2 games below 500. The Cubs are reeling after this. The only saving grace is that the Diamondbacks did beat the Brewers 6-4. Hallelujah. So they didn't fall another game back of the division to where it was absolutely out of question. The Cubs now have to go on a 12-game winning streak. They need to come back home and just start rattling off win after win after win after win. That's really what needs to happen. And it's really the only choice. If they keep struggling like this, it's not going to be good. The Houston Astros beat the Colorado Rockies 4-3 as well. They got their winning run in the bottom of the 8th. The New York Yankees beat the White Sox 10-4. And then the Boston Red Sox beat the Baltimore Orioles 3-2. So what do we have this weekend? Let's go ahead and look at this weekend here, starting today, Friday, August 29th. St. Louis is at Cincinnati. You have the Cubs at Colorado. You've got, let's see, what are some of the other ones here? The Angels are now at Houston. The Tigers visit Kansas City. This is Kansas City's chance. The Detroit Tigers are reeling. They are absolutely reeling. This is the Royals' chance to close that gap in the AL Central. The Rangers are playing the Athletics. The Athletics are on a roll. Can they keep it going versus the Rangers? The Diamondbacks are playing the Dodgers. So that's a division game. Diamondbacks haven't really been able to control that series much this year. We'll see what happens. The Mariners are at the Guardians. The Brewers, though, head to Toronto. So this is what I was talking about. If Toronto can knock off the Brewers a couple times and the Cubs can sweep Colorado, all of a sudden it looks a little bit better for the Cubs. But if the Brewers just keep on this streak, which has been nothing short of amazing, there's no catching them for the NL Central. There's absolutely no catching them at all for the NL Central. So that was baseball. Then we had WNBA last night. I mean, not gonna lie, the New York Liberty had been got ticked off with how some of their previous games had gone, and they rout the Washington Mystics 89-63. The Seattle Storm, I did mention this yesterday, played the Minnesota Lynx, and the Storm knocked off Minnesota with a 34-point third quarter. They outscored the Lynx 34-17 in that third quarter. And then they outscored them 26-16 in the fourth, on way to a 93-79 victory for the Storm over the Lynx. Then the Phoenix Mercury beat the Chicago Sky. First quarter, close. Second quarter, Phoenix outscored Chicago by 12. Third and fourth quarters were basically the same, but the Mercury come out on top, 83-79. Looking at the standings now, Lynx and Aces are still the two teams that have guaranteed playoff spots. The Storm are now 7th at 21-19. The Golden State Valkyries still hold 8th, with the Sparks sitting right behind in 9th. And tonight's matchup, you got the Dallas Wings at the Atlanta Dream, and then the Indiana Fever are at the Los Angeles Sparks. So, big games. The Dream win, they do clinch a playoff berth. If the Sparks win, it does help keep them in the running for the WNBA playoffs. All right. It is Friday. I said we're going to have some. I told you I was going to give you my predictions today. And instead of doing all of the game predictions from the weekend, because I could hit a lot of them, I'm going to give you my picks at the end. So for college, we do 5 picks for college each week. And then the NFL, I'll tell you what we do next week. But I want to start out with this. Let's go ahead and switch. Let's go over there. Here we go. So, get this pulled up here. My top 20 teams to watch this year in college football. Some of you may be thinking there's not all the names I thought would be on there. These are the top 20 teams I think will potentially be fighting at the end of the season. There's a couple of sleepers, I know. There's a couple of teams that aren't on here that everybody's like, what? Sure, they'll be there. I took Kansas State off. I did not like how the offense looked. I know it was raining. I do not like how the team just acted. I do believe they're going to be tough, but I don't think, especially with Iowa State already winning, I don't see them really as a threat right now, especially with the way Kansas looks. So these are the top 20 teams to watch in 2025. The number one is Navy. There is a big part of the college football know-it-alls that believe that the Navy midshipmen could easily end up being that group of 5 team. Now you may be asking, how? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you how. So this is their schedule. We're going to go down this list. They open up with VMI tomorrow. Then they play UAB. They're at Tulsa, home against Rice and Air Force, at Temple, home against Florida Atlantic, at North Texas, at Notre Dame on Saturday, November 8th. And on top of that, it's a night game. It hasn't been a night game before. It is a 7:30 start on Saturday, November 8th. I will absolutely be watching, and so will my dad. All right, South Florida, they play the very next week, which I just said is a team that you potentially could see. They don't have, the aspirations weren't high for South Florida. They could be now. At Memphis on November 27th, and then the Army game to finish the season. Navy could easily run the table. Easily run the table, except for Notre Dame, which means they'll win the American Conference. If they win the championship game and their only loss is to Notre Dame, and if it's close, I'm saying if it's close, not if it's a blowout. If it's close, they will be included in the college football playoff, especially if Boise State has 2 losses and doesn't look that good. Because you got the group of 5 that get in, the highest rated, ranked group of 5. So watch for Navy. Another team, you know, my Big 12 pick is Utah. I think they're going to come up from the ashes. I think it's going to be a little bit different than most people believe. It's an experienced team, and they're currently underdogs. And history should show us, don't put Utah as underdogs. That is the last thing you want to do. How many times did Utah absolutely ruin dreams for the Pac-12? I mean, come on. Teams would go to Utah to die. Like, watch out for Utah. Miami, Florida, to me, the Hurricanes are very, very interesting for one reason and one reason alone. I don't like Carson Beck, which makes them really intriguing. They lose Cam Ward. They get Carson Beck in. It's going to be interesting. Watch Miami, Florida. I think Clemson's absolutely better than they are. But what if Miami gets it rolling? There's a possibility. Watch them. Georgia, obviously we always have our eye on Georgia. We always have our eye on Alabama. I mentioned Missouri the other day. So obviously they're on here. And I did put the bet in. I did put it in that Illinois will make the college football playoff as the 3rd or 4th team from the Big Ten. I did put it in. I love Brett Bielema. I mean, I love Illinois. They've got experience. They've got the schedule to be able to kind of play it if they can get the one upset. The Indiana-Illinois game, I'm going to hate. I'm really going to hate because I think Illinois is probably better than Indiana. They've got the more experienced quarterback right now. Indiana has the, transfer in from California, he's a really good kid. Had a great year last year. Not worried about Indiana at all, but I think Illinois is going to be better. And it hurts to say because I want Indiana to have that spot again, but I think Illinois is going to get it. Another team to watch out for, look out for Washington. Kellen DeBoer left and really left the cupboard bare. Look out for Washington. They've got one of the longest home winning streaks in college football. They don't lose at home. They lose on the road, They don't lose at home. Watch out for Washington to, even if they don't make the playoff, be a team that really causes trouble for other teams down the stretch. Let's go ahead and go look at their schedule here because, well, I love it. So the Washington Huskies, here's how their schedule plays out. They open up with Colorado State and UC Davis. Then they have their rivalry game against Washington State. Here's where it gets interesting. They are home against Ohio State, Saturday, September 27th. So they get 3 games to prep for Ohio State, going to the West Coast. We saw what happens to Ohio State and Oregon. No, I'm not saying Washington has Oregon's talent. East team going west. We've seen this before. We have seen this play out. It plays out in the NFL, guys. So why would we not think it's going to happen for kids, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, when it affects 27, 28, 29, 30-year-olds? Ohio State goes out to Washington. Then they play Maryland and Rutgers. Arguably, their hardest road game is at Michigan on October 18th. That's their hardest game. And I don't know what Michigan's going to be. You notice they're not on my list. They could end up being a 7-5 team. They could be an 8-4 team. I don't know what they're going to be. They are a really big mystery, honestly, in the Big Ten. They're ranked 14th already. But what if the quarterback just doesn't end up getting the offense? What if the offensive line and defensive line that lost a lot of players isn't really ready? What if they need a year to be able to grow, to gel? That game will be huge. But once again, it's Washington West now going east. Big game. Then they have the biggest game will be the last game of the year, Saturday, November 29th. They are home against Oregon. I believe Oregon is really good. Do not get me wrong. I believe Oregon is outstanding. Every once in a while, you got to take a step back. Oregon is a team that I have to watch. Let's skip over to the far right side. LSU, Garrett Nussmeier, Brian Kelly. I think they'll make the playoff. I really do. The way their schedule is, I think they'll make the playoff. It would be great if they play Notre Dame. It would be awesome if they play Notre Dame. Notre Dame, I think, will make the playoff as well. Iowa State, one of those Big 12 teams that's going to be fighting with Utah. And then also Texas Tech down at the bottom. This team is going to be sneaky. This team has a sneaky defense. Don't count Texas Tech out. The Big 12 is so even. Like, you can't count anybody out because you can't count Kansas. And technically, you really can't count Kansas State out. It's just, there's a lot of teams that are just right there all together, just mashed in. Like, it's just a collaboration of really good teams. They're not top end, they're just really good. So the Big 12 is outrageously hard. I think it's going to be Utah. I fully admit it could be horribly wrong. Fully admit that. I'm good with it. All right. Penn State, I believe, is going to win the Big Ten. I believe Penn State is the Ohio State and Michigan of the last 2 years. Experience, they're ready. They'll be in the college football playoff. If they're not, I think Franklin could be fired. And I don't think he should be, but I believe he could be fired because you got to win. This is the year. Ohio State's getting in a brand new quarterback. Michigan's still reeling. You've got to take advantage. You've got the most experienced team in the Big Ten. You've got to use it. That's what I'm going to go with. Obviously, we're watching Ohio State. Clemson is my pick to win the ACC. And then Texas Tech. Now you get to the middle. And I know there's this team at the bottom of the middle that some people are going to laugh at. I looked at their schedule. They could easily be undefeated. And let's say Navy has 2 losses, Boise State has 2 losses, or even The winner of the American Conference has 2 losses. The winner of the Mountain West has 2 losses, and Liberty is sitting there undefeated. 12-0 conference champions. I believe there's a shot they could sneak in as the 12th team. Just because they will be the highest ranked group of 4 team. Just because of that. Watch out for Liberty to sneak in, maybe. I'm not putting any money on this one. The conference is obviously a conference that's really low, but they're going to be undefeated. If you've got a bunch of 2-loss teams, 1 loss I could see Liberty not getting a chance. 2 losses, though, they're going to have a shot. Texas, I am outstandingly excited for Arch Manning. I cannot wait to watch tomorrow. Texas and Ohio State. Cannot wait to watch tomorrow. So obviously they're one of them. Indiana, yes, it's somewhat of a homeboy pick. Deal with it. I love Indiana. Kamara there on defense. I do like the transfer quarterback. The schedule is going to be this kind of the same as Illinois' and Washington's. It's just going to depend on the timing of the losses, how they look, etc. So it's going to be really exciting. But those are my top 20 teams to watch this year in college football. Now, before I get to the picks, we're going to close out the week with my 5 picks for this weekend. Here we go. My Super Bowl winner and my college football playoff winner. So yesterday, if you watched, my Super Bowl prediction is Bills versus Commanders. I believe the Commanders have done plenty to be able to take a true step forward in year 2, and I don't think they're done. Let me be very clear. I believe this team will make a deadline trade to bolster either their secondary or their defensive line, maybe their offensive line if it's struggling. I don't think they're going to be patient. They feel with McLaurin, Samuel, this is Zach Ertz last year most likely. They feel the window is open now to be able to go get a Super Bowl. Adam Peters will be aggressive. They will sacrifice slight talent for the next 2 years while they're not paying Daniels. They'll sacrifice draft picks. They'll give up cap to be able to go for the Super Bowl the next 2 years while Jaden Daniels' rookie contract is here. And that is the smart move. Let me be very clear. That's the right move. So my Super Bowl is Bills versus Commanders. My college football playoff prediction is Texas versus Penn State. I normally don't try to go with the favorites. I just think both of those teams are really, really strong. And I believe the winners are the Bills and the Longhorns. I really wanted to go Penn State. There is a lot inside of me that wants to go Penn State. By the time January rolls around, I think Texas' size will outdo Penn State's speed in playoff football. And I think Texas beats them in a thrilling game, probably 31-30. And it is an outstanding national championship game with Texas winning. The Super Bowl will be electric. Josh Allen and Jaden Daniels will be awesome. And I'm going with Josh Allen and the Bills. They will get one. They will get a Super Bowl. I think this is the year the Chiefs, I believe, are going to be down. The Ravens could easily be here as well. And if the Ravens end up being here instead of the Bills, it won't shock me. I am going Bills, and I am going Texas Longhorns. So those are my official the official Super Bowl and college football champion predictions for the season. Obviously, through the year, as things change, i.e., Parsons getting traded, the narrative changes through the year. It's an ebb and flow, it's a fluid thing. Sports is very fluid, very fluid. Different things can happen, although I did say Dallas was going to be last already, so I don't have to change many of my views when it comes to that. Okay, let's go to the picks. I don't make it easy on myself with these. We got 3 minutes. I don't have a heart out, just 3 minutes. I don't have. I really should make this easier on myself. I really should. However, because I'm a glutton for punishment and I enjoy doing it so much, I will predict the bigger games. So I'm going to pick the winner of the main focus games. And this weekend, we've got plenty of them. We're going to start with Texas and Ohio State. In the Horseshoe, Lee Corso's last game, and this bet has been locked in for a while. I'm going with Texas over Ohio State. I believe Texas goes in, beautiful weather, not going to be bothered by anything. I believe they go in and knock off Ohio State. So I've got Texas over Ohio State. Then we have tomorrow night Clemson and LSU. This is a game that I believe comes down to the very end. I think LSU may actually have a better defense than what people think. And I believe that Clemson's offense is still at this point underrated, especially based off of what Vegas put for the yardage total for that offense. Clemson is home. That is the main reason I am picking Clemson. If this game's in LSU, if this is in Baton Rouge, I'm picking the Tigers of LSU. Because it's in Clemson, in Memorial Stadium, I'm going with the Tigers of Clemson. So I got one road team and I got one home team. Then we go to a game on Sunday. Notre Dame at Miami. I am really intrigued about this game. Notre Dame starting a new quarterback. Miami starting a new quarterback. Notre Dame has multiple spots to fill. Miami has multiple spots to fill. 7:30 Sunday night, Notre Dame at Miami. I really want to pick Miami here. But I believe in Marcus Freeman more than I do Mario Cristobal. I believe Marcus Freeman will go off of last year, the juniors that lost last year to Georgia Tech. He will remind them of how hard they had to play the rest of the year. So I'm going Notre Dame over Miami, another road team to win. And then we have Sunday night's game before I give you my final pick. Or Monday night's game, sorry. TCU at North Carolina. TCU is favored by 3.5. I think North Carolina is going to be buzzing. Monday night, standalone game, Labor Day night. I think North Carolina, the Bill Belichick era, and I don't think it's going to really be great, but the Bill Belichick era, I believe, begins with a W. Begins with a W over TCU. It's what I'm going with. All right. My fifth and final game that I'm going to pick. And every week I will pick the Indiana game. Indiana is home against Old Dominion this week. The line is 23.5. So I'll give you, I believe Indiana is going to win probably by 30, 35. I think they're going to try to air it out and really get everything into to focus as they get ready for Big Ten play. So my picks for this weekend, last weekend we went 2-1. My picks for this weekend are Texas over Ohio State, Clemson over LSU, Notre Dame over Miami, North Carolina over TCU, and Indiana to win by more than 24 points. Those are my 5 predictions. Those are my picks for the weekend. And that is all that she wrote. We are done with our first week. Our first 5 episodes of Sports Talk with Hawk live. Hopefully you guys have had a fun week. I appreciate each and every one of you hanging out this week. I will be off until Wednesday. Wife and I are heading out of town. We're going to go have some fun over Labor Day weekend. A little bit of a getaway, and I will be back on Wednesday, which will do recaps of the weekend with college football. And then immediately start getting ready for the opening week in the NFL. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Please make sure to subscribe, like the podcast. I deeply appreciate it. It's the weekend. It's Labor Day weekend. Hopefully you got it off. Have a fantastic weekend. Make it the best Labor Day weekend that you can. Watch some football. Have some fun with family. Grill out. Eat a lot of food. Have fun. And be safe. For Sports Talk with Hawk, I am Hawk. Happy Labor Day weekend, everybody. We'll see you on Wednesday.